Greetings from Southern Yankee Homestead. This your first time? Welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Well, today we're getting into some compost. We're going to try something different this year. I've gone ahead and set up the tractor and fueled it up already. It is fall and the leaves are falling off the trees, so this is the perfect time to go ahead and start a new compost. It gives us a general idea of when to do a new one. That way we can start a new pile each year without having to worry about, when did we do that? Did we do that here, there? No. When the leaves fall off the tree, we start vacuuming up everything and putting it in one area so we can start with leaf compost. We will be adding more pine needles this year because, well, the goat yard needs to be cleaned out of pine needles because those are falling as well, which are leaves, by the way. But this is what we've been doing. We got a massive pile here. I don't know if you can tell, but she's every bit of 6 feet tall. She's as tall as I am. This is mostly hay and crap and wood chips from the goat barns. We bring it over here, essentially store it. Started out the year, last year, with all the leaves in the yard. Well, and I hope you can hear me over all this because the wind is atrocious today. Well, this is what it turns into after a year. Not the best soil right now. There's still a lot of organic matter in there, but it is broken down. It's still pretty warm. Good amount of sand because, well, in our area we got a lot of sand. We don't necessarily need it broke down all the way for what we do with it. So we're going to be expanding our garden this year. And we need some in the other garden as well. So a majority of this is going to be transported over here to our garden extension. The rest of it's going to go over here behind the goats, where we're going to be moving chickens here soon, into the garden that we started last year. I think I'm probably going to start with taking some over there, just for the simple fact that, well, I haven't started the Daihatsu yet, because it's a lot quicker just to fill up the Daihatsu here, drop it over there. But for over there, I gotta put it over the fence. If you're wondering why we're loading the Daihatsu for the shorter distance over there versus taking it to the other garden is a little bit difficult to get into. You can't get into it with the tractor hardly at all, and getting in there with the Daihatsu has left a scar on the door once before. So I just dumped what I wanted in that garden. When we put the chickens in there, they'll go ahead and spread it around for us. Loading up the Daihatsu for the short run, it makes it faster because every load that I take with the tractor takes me longer than it does with the Daihatsu. So I can get 3 or 4 bucket loads in the Daihatsu, take it over, dump it, come back, get 3 or 4 more scoops, and it's easily a third to a half as slow or quicker or something like that. Now, if you see, I'm transferring some of the used compost or last year's compost over to next year's compost. So one of the problems we've had with this method is the center of the pile or the back of the pile I don't always get to mix up. So we end up with a compacted layer of unrotted material. So I basically just transferred it over so that, well, next year it'll hopefully be ready for dispersal. If not, same thing. But we're not going to spread uncomposted compost on the gardens or the garden area. What's left is a lot of pine needles and mixed up stuff, garbage that needs to rot down further. The other garden, we took 4 scoops over there. So my bucket is about a 1/4 yard per scoop, about 1 yard of compost over there. And that was the good stuff that we spread out where the corn was earlier this year. Then over here on the garden extension, we've got 12 scoops or 4 buckets. So, give you an idea of what we're planning on doing. Off the corner of the coop over there, we're going to come out to match up with this side of the garden here, and we're going to come down and we're going to turn all this into the garden, so our garden will be a big L shape. That way, some of the sunnier stuff we can put over here, some of the more shaded stuff we can put back there, and well, we always need more garden space. And this is the first step. I'm not going to be spreading this out. This fence is about 5 years old and has had better days. With the frost tonight, most of this stuff is going to be dead anyways. So what we're going to end up doing is pulling this fencing down, relocating it, and then we're going to open this entire area up for the chickens. The chickens are going to love this compost and turning through it and doing all kinds of stuff. You see any bare patches out there? That's where we were running the meat birds. Started the meat birds here, so they got some nice crap load in here. Bury it with compost, give it 6 months, won't even know. Now with all the compost spread, we got to go ahead and set up our new compost method that we're going to try. Well, I don't know if it's a method. It's basically going to be the same thing we did before. It's just we're going to try to consolidate it and have a way to hold it all together a little bit better. Don't know if it'll work. The idea is to use cattle panels. So I got 1 full-length cattle panel there, and I got a half cattle panel here. I don't remember what we cut it for, but we cut it. But I'm looking at what this square is going to be, and I'm looking at what we have for a year worth of compost. Not 100% sure this is going to work. I think it might be too small. But I mean, we are stacking more vertically, but I don't know. I really don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, our pile's almost 16 feet across, and it's definitely over 4 feet pretty quickly. I'm gonna go grab 2 more full cattle panels. So I've got 1 more full cattle panel and 1 that's got 2 of it knocked off. This looks a little better to me, or like we can completely fulfill it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pound in a bunch of T-posts, and we're doing it manual this time, even though we have T-post driver, the pneumatic one. We're just going to do this one manually because, well, I have the manual T-post driver. It's cold out. I just don't feel like messing with it right now. If we're pounding in more, it would be good, but for this few, I think a total of 11, and it just rained, and I'm rambling. Let me shut up. we're all set up with the first half. I'll worry about the second half once I get this monster pile of compost moved. And as far as moving it, we're going to try to do it with the bucket. I may stop in the middle of this and switch out because, well, I don't know if the bucket's going to cut this. It's in there pretty good, and, well, it's sometimes easier to grapple. I can get bigger loads. But we're going to try it with the bucket and see what happens. Oh, and for reference, I have the tooth bar on the bucket. You've never seen this on the channel before, but I do have a tooth bar that's a bolt-on for the bucket. It's quite gnarly, actually. I've been doing some other stuff behind the scenes. The compost is very hot right now in certain spots. You can see that by the steam coming off it every now and then. And the stuff that isn't, I'm mixing in, which is effectively turning this entire pile as we go along, which is a good thing because it needs to be turned. If you also notice, every once in a while I'm dropping what looks like a scoop of water in there. That is actually water from the duck pond. If you don't have ducks, or if you do have ducks, then you either need to know or you do know that ducks are nasty. Their water, unless you're talking an acre or more pond, the ducks muck up the water pretty quickly and it gets nasty even faster. So we're using that water to help stimulate the compost, as well as, well, compost needs water to work. Well, we're all done. I put one last bucket of water on there. It is bulging a little bit on the side, but that's to be expected. But we were able to get that entire big pile completely, for the most part, in there. We're not worried about getting everything in there because we're going to put another side over here, and this is where we're going to have basically next year's, or the year after, compost. So this is next year's compost at this time. This will be the year after. This has been collected since this time last year, so this is a year's worth of yard debris, grass clippings, crappy cardboard from poultry brooding, a chicken coop mess, goat barn mess, just anything in bulk that we have goes in here. So that's a year's worth. It would be a lot bigger if it doesn't rot down throughout the year. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and move the tractor back a ways, and then I'm going to grab the lawnmower, and I'm actually going to use the lawnmower to do a little bit further cleanup. So if you see, like right here, I had, you know, some stuff fall out. I'm not going to use the bagger for this. I'm just going to take the bagger off and literally blow everything into where the new compost is going to be, or where the old compost is. Any questions on that? I don't know if I'm actually going to show what it looks like when I'm done cleaning up, but you get the idea. Now we're using the cattle panels because we have used cattle panels in the past where we take and we just put them in a circle and then put everything into it. The problem is when you take a 16-foot cattle panel, tie it onto itself, it's actually about the same size as the bucket on the tractor. And we fill those up way too quick. This way we basically have 1, 2, 3, we'll have 4 cattle panels involved in this. It'll be a similar setup, but we can load the bulk in and not have the pile spread out further. Gives us a flatter top, so there's less likeliness that when it rains, the water won't wick off. It will soak in better. Putting it side by side, that will also help. All right, well that was dusty and dirty, but went ahead and cleaned up this section of lawn. Sorry, sun's really bad right there. And blew it all into the compost. Some of it's just up the front, which is fine, because, well, some of the compost that was already broken down here got mixed in with the pine needles and stuck to the side. So that will help with erosion and moisture control. The rest of it is all blown back in here. I'm going to come back after the video, put another panel up. You've seen me do it before. I've got 4 stakes 3, 4, something like that. Got to pound a couple more stakes in, put a panel up, rope it up, and we'll be good to go. Then it's just a matter of, it's fall. Time to go start collecting leaves and grass. And while I'm thinking of it, I didn't mow the lawn for the last month. I did that intentionally so that when the leaves start falling, I can cut the lawn for the last time and suck the leaves up, so I got a mix of green and brown mulch. At least that's what I hope. I'm hoping that will help kick off the compost a little bit better. We got a good base in here right now, some semi broke down compost that was still a little warm in the back corner, and we're going to butt it right up to this other one. So hopefully it will help kick it off and we can break this down a little easier. Don't know. It's an experiment. We'll try it. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and well, you'll see me or Hun on the next one. Bye.